And we are back on magical episode chapter 122 on the Chosen Baseball Journey podcast. I'm Jonathan A. Cohen, real estate lawyer, author, The Bible 3.0. He's got his copy there, The Six Commandments of the Chosen Life. It's available on Amazon, Indigo if you're in Canada, Barnes and Noble. Folks, everybody wants to live their chosen life, wants to be the best them possible, finding your life systems, your life energy, and what you need to do to get yourself ahead. It's all in there. So enjoy, enjoy. It's also available as an audiobook and ebook. With me, as always, my co-host, friend in life, Mr. Kareem Garcia, MLB slugger and advisor to the stars. Kareem. I noticed when you get like today, it showed up on my feed. People love to watch your clip talking about you giving life advice to Randy Rosarena. Go figure.
Well, I need to talk to Randy a little more often then. But he's actually listening now. He's getting better.
Well, I think Mr. Alex Verdugo also needs a little bit of advice because he was going so strong there for a while and now falling back into bad habits. And goes to show you, it's really hard to do it consistently for 162 games. All these other leagues, they cry and this and that. The NFL season, what we up to 16, 17 games. You got the NBA, NHL, sitting at 80 and change, 162 with the heat and everything else. Baseball's a long, long, long grind.
It is. I mean, over 6.5 months, and you have only one day off, sometimes over 13, 14 days. And you have to be the thing that people doesn't understand is, oh, he played baseball 3 hours. No, you get to the stadium for a 7 o'clock game, you get at the stadium at 2 p.m. and start working out over there. Just sometimes you have lunch at the stadium, work out, go take a shower, be ready for the game, and play another 3 hours. So you basically stay over there for 7, 8 hours at the stadium every single day. So you say, oh, it's easy. No, it's not easy. It's hard.
Wait a minute. So you have a 7 p.m. game. You're not taking a cab at 5 p.m., getting dressed slowly and then getting out. You're at the stadium all day. Ha ha ha. Go
All
figure.
day, yes.
And so you're doing that, and now 162 days plus the travel, plus off day training. It's a lot of grind on the body.
It is. That's why the hitters at the end of their careers have back injuries. Not at the beginning, at the end, because it takes a toll in your body. You know, jumping and hitting the wall, sliding head first to second base or home plate, hitting the catchers back in the days. Everything takes a toll into your body and it will show up. It showed up on me, on my back, had back surgery because of that. But I mean, it's part of the deal, by playing a long time.
As much as I love baseball, and it pains me to say it, Kareem, between the start of spring training, all those spring training games, the MLB season, the postseason, sometimes WBC, winter ball. Kareem, the season is too long. I think if I was gonna, I know they can't do it because of money and contracts. Because if you cut the season by 25%, you're gonna have to cut all the expenses by 25%, and players ain't gonna go for that. But I think 120 game season be more manageable.
Yeah, well, they did it on the minor leagues. They
Yep.
got the games, but it's different because of the sponsor, like you mentioned, TV rights and everything else. It's almost impossible to do so.
They'd rather add, I think if it were up to them, I think they'd rather make spring training games less and just make the season 170, 180 games. But why, I know we've talked about this before, but it still kind of befuddles me. We're sitting here in July. There's four major sports leagues, sorry, race car driving and golf and soccer and racquetball and pickleball and whatever other sports. But you have the NFL, you have the NBA, you have the NHL. How did Major League Baseball find a way to get a monopoly for such a long time? Because the reality of it is there's this few months peaks where there's nothing to watch from the four major sports except baseball. If I was the NFL If I was the NBA, NHL, like NHL with the ice, I get it with the winter season. But if I were them, I'd say, you know what? I can go and get myself a little more exposure in the spring and summer. I'm going to just change my season around.
I be a little difficult for those teams. I mean, NFL it takes a grind to play it, and that's why they play only one time every week because they have to ice their body at least 3 days after the game because of the hits that they take. Soccer players, I mean, it takes a toll too because they run, I don't know, 10, 15 miles the whole game or even more, running around hitting the soccer ball. So that's why they play only one time a year. I mean, one time a week. They play, 12, 15 games. NFL plays 17 games. Major Leagues plays 161 plus playoff, which are 19. If you make it all the way to the World Series, it's 181 games what you play. It's completely different.
If I was the NFL, like, why not make the season March, April, May, June, or September, October, November, December? Like, what is the point of having football in January and February, East Coast, open air stadiums? It's not humane.
Well, they like the winter time, the snow and playing below 20 degrees, and everybody's freezing over there and having fun. That I don't know. I'm guessing that's what it is because I've seen those games in Kansas City and Buffalo where below zero. And I don't know how those guys do it. Seriously.
As a ball player, and you played in Detroit in the open air stadium, can you imagine December playing a baseball game in Detroit outdoors?
It wouldn't be a game because you have to be taking the snow out of the stadium. The stadiums for baseball are not prepared for the snow. In April, I got to play when it was snowing in Baltimore and in Detroit, both opening days, and it's not fun at all. It's too cold. You get jam on a pitch, and your hands hurt for days to come.
I can tell you, I got to sit in December in Chicago, outdoors, watching the Falcons on a steel bench. It's not fun. Like the game was good, and I had fun in the game in general. But I would have had a lot more fun if I was wearing a spring jacket. Quite frankly, like huddling like this is not that great.
Not at all.
So
Not
it's not
enjoyable.
So we were not going to be able to fix the MLB season. We're not going to be able to change around other sports leagues to help them get more better weather. Fine. So I got to ask you then with the MLB, when I think about this, we talked about the All Star game, and they have the best All Star game by far out of the four leagues. Fine. How can you have the best All Star game yet have the worst draft out of the leagues? Because you think about I now we talked about the NFL having the worst All Star game. I don't know if there's a more touted, more a bigger event and hoopla around a draft in a sports league compared to the NFL. If I'm gonna put it in the gold standards, I know it's tight with the NBA, but I'm gonna put number one the NFL for the draft.
Absolutely. Everybody wants to watch it. Everybody makes a day to watch the draft in the NFL. And now all the fans going crazy about, who they get, the quarterback, the running back, whatever they need on the team, and they get it. And they're thinking, and they're always asking, "Oh, we're gonna get it. Are they gonna make a trade for to get it?" It's very fun. And you mentioned it, MLB. I don't know where it is.
No doubt they're number four because I would say NBA has to be number two because it's still highly touted prospects. People are still watching. People have an idea what's going on. Where's Bronny James gonna go? What's this mean for LeBron? Like there's always something around the NBA draft, and people know the players. They watch college ball, So I'll put them in number two. NHL gets number three. Believe it or not, across North America, people still know who the hockey players are, the top five players, 10 players, and people know when it's aired on TV. Part of the whole thing with these leagues, and funny enough, you and I were talking about it, and you had to double check to look. Yeah, the MLB draft came and went a couple weeks ago, and nobody cared. So, first of all these other leagues, let's look at what they're doing. It's in the off season. The seasons are done. Now we need to fill in with some time. That's the perfect time to pump up and create this draft. I mean, back in your day, back in my day, Kareem, there was no drafted MLB, on television. There was it was all like cloak and daggers, very, very secret. Unless you read Baseball America, nobody had a clue who MLB prospects were. Nobody knew how the draft worked. And with MLB, I'm looking if there's one area they're really lagging and they could really take advantage here. Now with the internet and social media, more and more people get an idea of who these prospects are. Why not televise it properly, have the guys in attendance, but actually put it in the off season when all the college seasons are done, the MLB season's done, and actually do it that way? Or is it simply because we got to get them in so we can get them in midway through the season and start getting them playing as soon as possible? Like, is that the only reason why?
I'm guessing, like you mentioned, I had to look that it was from the 14th to the 16th of July for the MLB draft this year. And you get drafted 615 players. That's what I was looking, through 20 rounds. I not even knew this whole thing, and all of a sudden you get all these guys, but you sign 615 guys. You have to get rid of 615 guys that are not doing so well too. So that you're getting guys in, you're getting guys out. You like you say, you don't televise it like the NFL or the NBA or the NHL. It's because you get the draft from the outside the United States. You signing guys left and right from Dominican and Cuba and Mexico, Venezuela, and they not even get mentioned into this. And they getting more guys from that side of the border than on this side. And really, to them, I don't think they put a lot of attention into the signing, unless it's a Paul Skins, a couple, two, three guys that really, their name is off the charts, their numbers, and then you want to see them play.
Well, there's been talk about an international draft, right? That's where it
Yeah.
might be going. I don't know if it's the worst idea in the world. It seems like, with the salary cap and everything else, there's a lot of teams that they have invested in their academies and having these advisors helping them. But there's a big advantage still if you know how to scout internationally and get way more talent than you'll ever get out of the North American draft.
Yeah, the thing is with the Latin draft or the outside United States draft, is they're signing kids 14, 15 years old right now. Their arms and their bodies are not developed to start playing or put the time and the effort to play, 120 games. These kids play once a week, and all of a sudden throw them into playing 6 times a week. A lot of those kids they get hurt because of that, because their bodies are not yet ready to put all the stress into it.
So general manager calls you up, says, Kareem, got your number from Paul Skeens. And think about which countries is best to put our resources because we can only put so many academies and so many scouts. If you had to think in your mind right now of where the talent is flowing from in MLB, what are the top four countries? If you could put your resources to get the kids from there, where would you center on?
Dominican Republic, they already have it. We go to Venezuela. I would put one in Asia. I don't know if I would probably put it in Japan. I'll put that now in Japan. And the other one, I love Mexico and everything else, but I think, between Cuba and Mexico, they probably got more players in Cuba than Mexico right now because unfortunately we're not developing a lot of players.
You pull enough players from those four countries, and I'll say all your talent is from there. I think you're doing pretty well. It's when I was watching that WBC and watching that Japanese team, it's so tempting to just want to get a whole team of just Japanese players. They seem so disciplined and so good, but then, you know, um, for every Yamamoto, there's gonna be a million Ishis who are gonna be very barely breaking 500. It's not an easy thing. We talk about Cody Senga a lot, and I'm waiting for him on both of my fantasy teams. Done his rehabs finally and coming back to the Mets. But guy had a great one season, barely gonna have a half a year. And you and I both know it could go the Bradish way in a second. What happened to the Cuban Levon Hernandez and Jose Contreras and these rubber arms? Where are these guys?
Well, in Cuba, they're still doing it. I mean, those guys over there still throw 120, 140 pitches. But when they come to the States, it's a whole different regimen. Now you throw 87 pitches, 90 pitches, and they stop. So you cannot throw anymore. We have to build you. These guys are already built to throw 140 pitches. Now they're going backwards. And when you're going backwards, it's not helping you at all. And that's what happens with the major league and the coaches that they have nowadays. What happened to the Nolan Ryans, of the back of the day, or the Bob Fellers, or Fernando Valenzuela, which used to throw 150, 160 pitches, 9 innings, complete game.
So most players now, when they get drafted, I'm going to ask you, do they know it's coming? Do they know which teams they're going to in your estimation? Like, first of all, North American draft, once it happens, like most teams you think have been around these players enough that they are aware of when they go to sign as international free agents. The most players you think this day and age know where they're going, or sometimes surprises happen.
No, no, they usually for the Latin countries, it's two or three teams always betting, on the player, and they pretty much know who are the three top suitors for you, and then you just take the best offer. So it takes the whole thing out of the equation of the surprise element, because whoever pays the most is the one that you're gonna go with, and that's what happens when you sign as a free agent in the Latin countries.
Walk us through what is the different emotion, like what goes through a mindset of a player when you get drafted, get signed as a free agent, when you first join an MLB team versus that phone call when you find out you get traded. How different are those calls?
When you get drafted, almost is the first thing you want to do, play professional baseball with a team that you like. In this case, for me, was the Dodgers growing up, and I played for them. And then when you get a phone call and it's the general manager for the other team, in this case for me was the Diamondbacks, telling me, congratulations, we have you in the draft and we pick you, and now you're coming. Yeah, I only played for the Dodgers at that point. And I got the draft, when I got the call, it was different for me. It was a sense of I didn't know what to do really, or how to expect the change, because I was so used to being all the time going to Dodger Town. I knew all the guys for 4 or 5 years already. Going to a new team, expansion team with new manager, new players from everywhere. It was completely different, and I didn't know exactly what to expect.
In most cases, when you get traded, is it the new team you talk to first, or is it the old team that traded you talks to you first?
Usually, it's the new team that calls you. I mean, they called me first. The Diamondbacks called me first before the Dodgers tell me. When I was traded from the Cleveland Indians to the Yankees, the general manager, which was Shapiro, and Eddie Wedge was the manager, actually called me to the office and told me that I was being traded to the New York Yankees. But they did call me first. They told me first, and then the GM Cashman called me on my cell phone after they told me. I guess they told him, okay, I already talked to Kareem. He knows he's been traded to the Yankees. Now you can talk to him and tell him when he's leaving and stuff like that.
What's your gut feeling as a player, as a fan? The trade deadline, should it be earlier in the season, later in the season? How do you feel about it? Because I'm kind of torn. I feel now that the MLB trade deadline's a little too early. I wouldn't mind a trade deadline into mid August, late August, near the end of the year. I feel like too early of a trade deadline kind of doesn't give teams enough flexibility, so to speak.
I would like to make it on August 31st. You get a whole month, the last month of the season for those guys, because you did it too early, and you never know exactly, because sometimes these guys get hurt, or you don't know what you're getting. Sometimes you get a top guy that you wanted, and he only lasted 2, 3 outings for you, and they get hurt. It happens all the time, I mean, I don't know. To me, the August 31st deadline would have been better.
And there's so many teams early on that they don't know if they're buyers or sellers yet. They're kind of stuck in this middle, and they're like, oh, with all these wild cards, also, it's too early for us. Maybe we should add, but maybe we should delete. There's very few teams that are the Rockies, the A's, where you're saying, yeah, it's liquidation time. But if I was a Toronto Blue Jay starting pitcher right now, I think I have my luggage at all times packed by the door, right? Like it's like I'm ready to get to the airport at any time. Players know when you're on a team likely when they'll be sellers, I assume, and when they're most likely going to be traded, right?
Yeah, I mean, you saw the Anaheim Angels last year. They made a run for it for like 10, 15 days, got all these guys from different teams. And when they realize 30 days later they're not going anywhere, they start selling everyone again, you know? And they
If
lost money because of that. That little move that they make of it, try to make a run, all of a sudden they knew they weren't going anywhere and they lost money and tried to get rid of all those guys.
you know what the Angels looked like at the last trade deadline. Sorry, Steve, but Steve was not there at the time. Steve Garcia, of course. But the Angels in 2023 looked to me like the gambler in Vegas and losing at the table, won one or two hands, went to take a cash advance on their Visa, lost, and then tried to liquidate their watch, their rings at the pawn shop just to recover something. It was nobody in the right mind thought they were making the playoffs last year. Like, unless Otani went and was able to duplicate himself and you could have two or three Otanis on that team, it was never going to happen. It was, if you ever look up how not to treat trade deadline, let's trade all our prospects, let's pull in these guys, and then let's liquidate them for pennies on the dollar. Like, man, they gave Ron Washington and his staff a lot less talent to start the year than they had if they had not made those moves.
Yes, I agree completely with you. They didn't look very well, at the deadline. And like I say, for 10 days they thought they were going to make the playoff. And that's about it.
But if you're Chris Young and you're the GM of the Rangers and you have the ring and Scherzer's come back, he's pitching pretty good. DeGrom is on his way back. And you still have all Jung is on his way back. He was saying in the papers, weeks going into the deadline, oh, I hope we're going to be a buyer. You are going to be a buyer. You still have all this talent. You still have time. Everybody gets healthy. You put in 2 or 3 solid weeks, squeak in the wild card with that level of talent. If there's one team in the AL I don't want to face if they get hot, it's the Rangers.
Yes, absolutely. They got the team, they got the knowledge because they already won the World Series last year. And I think if they made the playoff, be careful because they might make it to the World Series again this year.
Which was I still see happening. I think it's gonna be them and the Phillies, and I think it's gonna be the Phillies year. Now the Kimbrel's gone, and it's Baltimore's problem. Scary closer. The guy gets his saves, but man, when he's off, he's off. But Phillies load up. They pull in a rooker, let's say, as a bat. They pull in one or two more relievers. Man, it's an embarrassment of riches. It's all going to come down to Kareem. You look at this trade deadline and you look at where things are at. It's all going to come down to health. I don't think there's anything more frustrating. Like you said, you go and get one or two pieces early in the trade deadline, and then they get injured 2 or 3 weeks later, and you never even get them for the playoffs. That's so frustrating.
It is. Yes, I would like to see if the Oakland A's are going to try their closer because a lot of teams would love to have him.
So
They're going over.
Mr. Miller calls you up, and because he's had a couple of interviews on this, and he's been asked, "Are you going to go back to starting pitching at some point?" And he said, "It intrigues me, but given how dominant I've been as a closer, I think it'd be pretty stupid not to stay in this role for a while." What would you tell Mr. Miller? Because I know what I would tell him.
Stay where you are. Stay where you are. You're going to make a lot of money.
Go look at the Diaz contract. Go look at Class A. There
Yeah.
is look at how for every think how many closers try to go back to starting and ruin their arms. I would tell them keep doing what you're doing, buddy. Like you already had injury risks. Go pitch your 1 inning. Go pitch your 70 innings for the year. You're not Jordan Hicks, and even him at the end of the year, he's gonna have like a 4.9 ERA. I'm gonna tell you, there's very few guys that can go and make it. Like there, Crochet is Crochet. Crochet is a very special case, and
Yeah.
even Crochet. If you're the Yankees, you're the Dodgers, what is the point of getting this guy knowing that there's no way he's going to be able to pitch the innings in the postseason?
Yeah. Yeah, it's only a few guys like you mentioned, and one of them is John Smoltz. He actually went from starter to reliever to starter towards the end of his career. He was good in both of them actually. Dennis Eckersley was a starter and became a closer. But like you mentioned, it's only a few of those guys that actually made it. Now, if I was Kane Miller, I would stay as a closer the whole time.
And if I was Crochet, I'd stay a starter. But I think Crochet, I'll be shocked if he's even pitching in September, given how few innings he's pitched in his career. And if they're gonna move him in this offseason, take 7 prospects for him. But for a team that needs him for the postseason, you're the Phillies again, you're the Rangers, you're not gonna get a Crochet out there because this guy's not pitching into October, November for you. It's just not gonna happen, folks.
Yeah.
So from the MLB perspective, full circle, the trade deadline, let's extend the deadline to get the MLB draft hyped. You got also the school year. You can think about the college university years when they finish.
Mhm.
MLB works very slowly. Do you think they'll ever move the timing and move the MLB draft to the offseason, or do you think they're stuck in this route?
They're gonna stuck on this route. They've done it all the time. It's always been the same. And Major League is only make a few changes on certain things, and this is one of them that they're probably not gonna make. They're not gonna change.
The one they are saying though, which is not necessarily a bad thing, I don't even know why not, but up till now, is allowing more draft picks to get traded without any issues. Whoever gets drafted in the first round, second round, fifth round, why wait a year? Why have any restrictions? Go let teams trade draft picks. You know what? You have that in
Mhm.
the MLB, the same way you're gonna have it in the NFL and the NBA. You go trade your first 5 first round draft picks because you want a superstar. Like let's say, for example, the Yankees say, okay, we're gonna trade you our 3 first round picks for Crochet right now, and Crochet gets hurt, and you have no first round pick for the next 3 years. Oh well, they're big boys, big girls. They can make their own decisions.
That is correct. It's a gamble, and it's always a gamble when you get someone on your team. It's coming from somewhere else. And if you look at the medical records on how he's doing, you're never gonna know. And that happens all the time with the major league teams. They want the hottest pitcher, the hottest hitter, but they don't know if they're injured or they're going through a little phase with their bodies that are not feeling complete healthy, and you still go get them.
It's a tough thing, folks, trying to figure out this trade deadline, figuring out this draft, and that's why Manfred and his crew are figuring this out. But Manfred's not going to be in there forever. He's made a lot of changes as commissioner, good and bad. It'd be interesting to see who's going to be the next commissioner of future, Kareem, and which way they're going. Because my guess is the next commissioner is going to make a lot less changes. Because by the time Manfred's gone, there won't even be umpires. It's only going to be robots. There's going to be so many things going on. I hope the next person who comes in, not that everything against Manfred, but I hope we go back to a little bit more of the traditional game because when you tweak the recipe too much, you may burn the stew.
Yes, that is correct. I like the old way the baseball was played before you do. Too many cameras right now. They have to the challenge. It takes a little bit of time, and which is good. You hit a base hit or and they call it an out, things like that. But I mean, I like the traditional way when the umpires, if they made a mistake, is because they're humans, and you're gonna make mistakes no matter what. Nowadays, you can go and challenge 2 or 3 times, and if you're right, you can continue to challenge through the whole game. I mean, to me, I don't like that part.
Ghost Runner, the pitch clock. I told you, Kareem, like in hockey, you end some NHL games on a shootout. You play this whole game and then you have overtime. The Ghost Runner will never make sense to me. You can try to explain it to me all you want. I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense. I don't care if the game's 17 innings long. There's a way to win it, but I foresee a day. Imagine that they ended an MLB game on a home run derby.
That'd be incredible.
Would you like it?
No, heck no. No, I wouldn't like it, but I mean, it's funny. And
If
I
that
hate that runner on second base after the tenth inning, so I don't like it either.
we bring Max Scherzer on the show, and we say, Max Scherzer, what do you think that you have 9 inning game? you can have up to 3 innings of extra innings, and if the game is still tied, the game will end on a home run derby. What do you think Max Scherzer's reaction would be?
Are you crazy?
I think he would take his mic, drop it, and say, "This interview's over." I think he would not be
Yeah.
very, very impressed. But look, you're trying to bring young kids into the game, right? And you're trying to build hype. I'm so scared to tell you. I can foresee a day that they'll actually think about it, and I bet you in the minors they'll do it one day. The games will end on a home run derby.
I mean, kind of crazy. That in Japan and in Korea, you can only play 12 innings, right?
No, I did not know that.
Well, yeah, you get tie games. After 12 innings, the game, if it's still tie, you finish on a tie, and it's half a point for each team. That's it.
Well, they have that in hockey because as soon as it goes into overtime, there's already the point system that you already gain whatever amount of points from it. If we take out the ghost runner, okay, and we did that in the MLB, would you rather they have a traditional extra inning game and end it on a tie after 12 innings, or keep the current format?
No, I would like to at least play the 12 innings. Take the ghost runner and play the 12 innings and see what happens.
I'd rather have no Ghost Runner and end a 12 inning game as a tie, agreed, than the way they're doing the Ghost Runner. The Ghost Runner is way worse. It makes no sense for the pitcher giving up a run, didn't give up a run, scored a run. I'll happily take a tie after 12 innings.
Yes, absolutely. And that's how I played it in Japan and in Korea. Both places do the same thing.
There's much, 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 folks, we can learn from Japan in baseball as they are the WBC champions for a reason. That's Kareem Garcia, Jonathan A. Cohen. This has been a Chosen Baseball Journey. We'll be back next week and we'll see what exciting topic in baseball we're going to cover. Stay tuned.